knight d5 anyway. Now I definitely want to play knight d5 because you can't take on d5 with your knight afterwards because then you get a little pawn fork. And by playing knight d5 for white, you clear the path for c3, b4, sort of your normal Italian game stuff.
Knight d5 here, my guess would be met with a status quo kind of move, maybe h6. Trying to get Wesley to be the one to release the central tension. I agree that after knight d5, bishop takes d5, I would prefer white.
Yeah, although there are some variations like that. I don't really know the ins and outs, but you can take with a bishop sometimes and then get the d5 pawn. But
yeah, it's a weakness. It's a weakness. But often white has like this idea, opening up the other bishop, the
right.
file. Looks like an initiative here for white. I think we saw an RCC game very similar to this.
Yeah, it's become trendy.
Which one it was?
It has become fashionable to play in this manner. And Wesley, yes. Now thinking though, I mean, is that surprising you, Danya? And
a little bit, because Hikaru's played completely natural moves.
Right. Wesley chose the opening. Then he decides to go for this a4 knight c3 stuff. And then after bishop e6, he's like, do I take that thing and give black double pawns, which I don't think black minds too much, or do I plop a pony on d5?
I know that the engine in such positions usually advocates, believe it or not, for bishop takes c6, which to me intuitively tears my heart out to open the f file like that. I always feel like I'm going to get checkmated, but the engine is fearless. We've seen Jan Krzysztof Duda play these structures very successfully, but you called it. Knight d5 is on the board by Wesley.
Did you see Wesley's reaction, by the way? What was that? He kind of like put his hand in the air and was upset.
Is he disappointed? Like already? This just looks like a normal position.
Maybe he's upset that he spent so much time to make a normal move. I don't know. That was strange.
Maybe he's upset that we can't tell what he's sitting on. Like, who are these commentators? Didn't even do their research before the show. No, but Hikaru's happy here. You can just sense that. I don't know. I can feel it in the air. Wesley just didn't quite get out of the opening what he was. I don't know what he was hoping to get, but maybe this is not it. I don't know.
And usually in this position, white thinks about playing the move a5 just to gain a little bit more space on the queen side. He plays bishop e3 here. How can you? I just don't understand how you can be like upset, but I understand what you're saying. But that's it. It's fine. It's not something where you feel like you're pressuring black's position. Hikaru is just kind of chilling, making normal moves. But then you can get complacent, right? You can think, all right, there's no issue here for black, but white can continue gaining space. Their idea is at some point to make a move like a5 and b4 and maybe b5 as you're highlighting here. So white needs to think about bishop takes d5 at some point. And doesn't miss manner. Well, that's really surprising.
I was not expecting that at all.
No, I don't like it one bit.
So after e takes d5, knight e7, does white have to play e4? Or is there something nasty? I think Hikaru is basically playing against the light squared bishop. He basically is saying the bishop is going to be out of the game. I'm willing to accept the fact that the half-open f-file is going to be in white's favor.
No, but it's actually, I think there's a direct problem with this. You're right. You don't have to play e4 right away. I think after ed, there's a knight h4 might be possible.
Ooh, I see what you're saying. And if you take on d5 hungrily,
yeah, knight f5, queen b7 will probably be hanging at some point.
Vroom, vroom, vroom on the king's side.
Yes, I'm hungry and I want a full belly.
Don't mention food to me. Not until after the show.
By the way,
knight h4.
I don't really see what's particularly wrong with e4, but knight h4, you asked the question, you led me to the answer by saying, is there an alternative?
I'll tell you, e4 allows knight g6, and now you don't have, that ignition button on the king's side. You really want to play knight h4. There's no alternative to that in terms of assembling your pieces the way you want to assemble them on the king's side. White's not worse here, but this isn't fun. Right. Knight h4 is just more exciting.
And Wesley, he's pausing because e4 is an automatic move. He ends up playing it. There must have been something. There must have been something he didn't like about the knight h4 sequence,
or he didn't consider it.
But then why you would play e4 pretty much immediately if you weren't considering anything? Like there's not too many options, I guess.
That's true. That's true. Maybe he's happy with this. I mean, I still think that he's probably going to resort to pushing the queenside pawns at some point before an a5.
Yeah, he kind of has to, right?
And he does.
b4.
So the position finally clarifies a little bit. Stabilizes.
Yeah, and the bishop on c4 looks kind of bad. It's staring into its own pawn. But it's not like black can make clear progress anywhere either. So what is black's plan, Donnie?
Well, before I answer that, I like to think of the bishop in terms of potential energy, right? Yeah, the bishop is staring at the... I was about to say, if black plays c6 and white takes it, the bishop is perfectly happy to be on c4. But Hikaru's last move completely changes white's plan. I think Wesley has to take on c6, and Hikaru accepting a weak pawn on a6. Is he trying to make a quick play for central control?
He certainly is, and that makes a lot of sense because white's pawn structure is advanced on the queen side, but also a bit vulnerable. So queen b3, and that move is not liked by the engines.
Not at all. And is it because of... I did see the move b5. Oh my god, look at this. b5 en passant, right?
Yeah.
Seems like no problem, but I think knight g4, maybe not. Maybe white has d takes c6 here, sacking the exchange. Something's problematic about this position. What is it?
But I see exactly what you're saying there. It does look a bit concerning for...
Flimsy.
Yeah, and maybe actually just c takes d5 at this moment.
Bishop takes d5?
You just take it with your knight, because if you take it with the queen, there's knight f4.
Ooh. And queen e3?
Yeah, rook c8 and all sorts of problems for white.
No, white's losing purchase in the center here. And these pawns are sitting ducks to black's queen and rooks. You're right. That was a mistake by Wesley. And will Hikaru find b5? Probably not the only move either. Right,
but I do like ridding yourself this thorn on a5, right? That pawn is just restricting black's pieces somewhat, so I feel like b5 is actually a quite clever idea.
I think in Hikaru's body language, you can sense, you can see the wheels of intuition turning, but he plays a tamer move. He plays queen c7.
The thing about Hikaru's camera, and I'm not sure right now, is I'm never aware if it's like a minute behind because you're capturing from his stream or if this is live reaction.
So I didn't think of that. You're right.
No, I just don't know what the deal is. So once we find that out, we can let you know. It's 1 minute behind. So, okay. So we'll eventually see Hikaru's face catching up to the positions we're talking about.
A couple years later.
I like that SpongeBob meme.
Knight d2, and Wesley seems to be losing his grip on this position. I mean, there's I hate to phrase it like that, but just the way the moves are looking. Queen a7, knight g4, knight f4. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it seems like black is having all the fun and Wesley's retreating. Look at this. Now he's staring off to the side, and that's not the, I'm thinking with my ear that Hikaru does. It's like, what is going on here?
I'm thinking with my ear. I love it. Rook f8, Hikaru declining another draw, which Wesley offered.
Oh, and Wesley.
He's choosing the wrong moments to offer. I mean, he's already clearly worse.
Yeah, if I were Hikaru, I also would not have accepted the draw. Now, that can backfire, right? Sometimes a draw very kind of, for lack of a better way of saying it, pisses someone off. You're like, why would I accept a draw here? But that can be a psychological ploy.
But my eyes keep darting back to this idea of queen a7, knight g4. I feel like at some moment that is going to come, and it's going to be incredibly unpleasant, let alone the fact that Hikaru can play d5 and grab control of the center, which is his ultimate goal when he took on d5 and played c6.
Yeah, d5 actually looks really frustrating for white to deal with because you're not taking that on d5 because after edcd, you lose the c3 pawn. So that's...
Might Wesley intend an exchange sack on f6?
Oh my gosh.
Never mind. No, he's getting destroyed here. Look at this.
Look at Hikaru's...
White's position is collapsing.
Yeah, he's just putting pressure right down the center.
Ugh.
What is...
Rook f3? I don't know.
Yeah, but Rook f3 also looks not very appealing. Then these knight g4 ideas you've been talking about seem very strong.
Anytime there's knights on f4 and g4, look at white's queen. Where is it? It's AWOL. It's gone. It's not
A2.
attending to its duties.
Yeah. It's... Can white even save this pawn, by the way, on d3?
I'm at a loss. I don't see a move. White's position is horrendous here.
And Wesley just started moving backwards. As soon as he didn't play knight h4, I could sense in your tone, you didn't like the position, and it just gave black all of the easy choices, and none of them were available for Wesley. So Hikaru is just outplaying him.
I think at this point, I've played Hikaru so many times, I've commentated on so many of his games, that I can almost sense from his opponent's perspective when it's an ethereal something, je ne sais quoi.
No.
That Hikaru just starts gaining control of the initiative, and you can feel it even if you're not looking at the board.
No, I know exactly that feeling, right? You played him many more times than I have, but I played him in Title Tuesday, and I had a great position. And I knew my position was great. And then I got aimless and slow, which is the deadliest combination because he punished me immediately, right? Like
that's exactly what Wesley did.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly right.
Wesley was just kind of in the water, moving his head side to side, but not actually moving forward. And now Hikaru's punishing him.
Aimless and slow. Those are the two central descriptors. Knight on d2, bishop on b3. White's pieces are stumbling over each other. And Wesley finally plays king h1, which I like. I think that is the best way to limit the damage. You got to part ways with this pawn and focus on ensuring the safety of your king.
Wow, I mean, what a move. I don't think I would have considered king h1. I was looking at rook f3 or some kind of move to defend the pawn on d3, but king h1 is a sign of a great player, where even in a bad position, you're coming up with potentially creative solutions. So after knight takes d3, what exactly is his follow-up?
Maybe rook f3?
And then try to double those rooks at some point?
Well, I was thinking rook f3, de, knight takes c4.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you can't do this without crazy tactics. He goes g3.
Not really. What about your queen a7 move? That
oh my God. Queen a7 looks totally crushing. Queen e3.
Yeah, just God. The king is even more exposed now.
This isn't even close. Maybe an exchange. No, an exchange stack at that point. It's that ship has sailed a long time ago.
Yeah, there's no attack, right? You hurt the pawn structure, but you don't have enough firepower to actually land a big punch. So, oof. Hikaru is also well ahead in the clock.
Yeah, and he's got, and his time expenditure is amazing, right? He takes exactly the right amount of time. He senses that if he finds the correct move here, he's going to be completely winning. Poof, he takes about a minute.
It's not every day. In fact, it's very rare that you see Wesley have this happen to him, right? Like, he's just... And look, he's
not in his own opening. Not in his own opening.
Just not ever. And Wesley, like, he looked outclassed, for a lack of a better way to put it. And that's just a one-game thing. Of course, if they play again and Wesley makes, happens to lose his game, makes his way through the loser's bracket, or whenever they play each other, Wesley can win any game against Hikaru. But in this particular two-game mini-match here, it just has felt like Wesley just hasn't found his footing at all.
Yeah, and Hikaru, of course he sees it. Of course he plays it, queen a7. But you just can't give a position like this to Hikaru and hope to survive. I think Wesley's days here are numbered. And this would be an incredibly impressive game. To miss the opportunity in the previous game, recover that fast mentally, and just to squash Wesley like a bug with black in 20 moves, only Hikaru can do that.
Just honestly shocking. I'm trying to wrap my head around all of this because it seems like it hasn't even been a game. It's only 22 moves in.
No, we just started. Like, they were just playing bishop c4, bishop c5 a second ago. And now this.
And now this. So, all right, let's try to give Wesley some hope. I'm trying to come up with a plan. I don't actually see one. E takes d5 feels necessary. Otherwise, you lose another pawn.
Agreed.
So ED5, CD5, and then I don't have a next move yet, but I will think.
Maybe knight f3?
Sure.
Trying to carve out some purchase in the center.
Rook c8 or something.
Queen d2.
Your reaction says it all.
Right. No, I'm absolutely in love with White's position here. I love being down a pawn with no center and a wide open king. And okay, so he's going for it. Knight f3 is on the board.
You know what's a Hikaru move here is knight e4, because tactically bishop takes d5 doesn't work to knight takes c3. So
isn't there bishop takes f7 there though? Sorry.
No, then I just take back on f7.
No, I take knight. Oh, your knight's defended.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's what I was worried about. And then I was like, no, this seems like a Hikaru sequence because it looks scary and it's not.
And I want to come back to a point we made a little while ago about when you're winning, it's okay to allow counterplay. Hikaru never minds doing more calculation. I think that's what makes him so deadly in winning positions. He's never going to say, I could go for this, but that forces me to calculate. He will sit there and hammer it out until he finds the most precise move.
I think it's a really good way of putting it about Hikaru. And it's something I don't think he gets enough credit for, because whenever people talk about his natural talent or this and that, it takes away from his hard work. And I don't think it has to be one or the other. It's both, because you don't become a top level chess player without the talent and the work that you put in. And even in a moment like this, where 7 different moves look just completely crushing, he is trying to find the best plan to punish Wesley at this moment. And it might be rook c8, it might be knight e4, but you know that Hikaru, he's doing his due diligence.
Well, Wesley's only chance here is to get Hikaru low on time. There's no other way Wesley's coming back in this game. So from that perspective, I like what Wesley did here. He's posing Hikaru with a dilemma. He needs to get him under a minute, and then he needs to pray for a miracle. He needs to pray for a blunder of some sort.
And you know what he needs to do, perhaps, is go knight h4, knight f5, but he could have done that many moves ago.
Yeah, it's a little bit too late. I think instead of e4, that was the best chance to go knight h4.
And, well, Hikaru is spending a lot of time.
Down to 2 minutes. So, listen, if he doesn't find the best move here, we're talking about a game. And it appears that he didn't find the best move here.
Queen e3. So there's no rook e1, of course. The knight covers the e1 square.
Looks overwhelming. But queen g2, maybe?
Or knight h4. Kind of allowing that knight to walk in there.
I like knight h4. At least you're getting a little bit of activity.
No, he doesn't want knight. Now knight e4 is just, I mean, it threatens a fork on f2, a fork on c3.
What is Wesley doing? He's just walked right into that.
I mean, Wesley's just having a bad game.
Or rook a1 doesn't do anything. It doesn't pose a single, even half threat.
No.
You got to play knight h4. I mean, that is just... This is crazy. Wesley is just totally collapsing here.
And you can't even protect the c3 pawn.
No.
Queen c2, there's still rook takes c3.
Oh my god, a knight f2 check.
Gosh. I mean, this is just...
catch.
There's no move. I think he can just resign.
Well, I think he gave up hope. I think Wesley gave up hope after the draw offer was rejected. Because that's when the real downhill moment came. He was already slightly worse. But everything went downhill in the span of 3 more moves.
Like, did he actually expect Hikaru to take the draw offer? He did it twice now, so I don't really understand the gameplay there.
No, I agree. Bishop c2. Okay, don't play knight f2 check. Bishop h7 in the end. Still not too late to blunder.
Not a blunder that Hikaru is going to fall into.
If you play rook takes c3, though, Wesley plays bishop takes d3 and rook d to e1.
Wow,
so
that's actually...
the move is e4, but that's not an easy move to play.
No, that's actually an amazing idea by Wesley. So
bishop c2.
For someone we were just saying might have given up hope, he's coming up with clever ideas.
And Hikaru doesn't really get nervous, but he's got to be feeling a little bit antsy here. And he finds e4. And
I know his video is a minute behind, but you could see him just like kind of grab his head and what's going on.
Rook de1? Why is this so bad? Because the knight is coming to e4, I guess.
Yeah, that's going to be a big problem.
I answered my own question.
And if you go queen d2, you just trade queens and c3 falls and...
It's over. It's over. Queen a7. The queen had only 1 square, but it's the absolute perfect square.
And it's a shame for Wesley as queen d2. It almost gets the job done, but after knight e4, this is knight f2 check again.
Yep, there's that fork in the end. And the king does him in. It's, yeah, knight e4. On autopilot, he takes on c3 first. Last attempt by Wesley. Finally gets his knight to f5. About 20 moves too late.
And Wesley in 18 seconds. Hikaru down to a minute, though. So even though Hikaru is the bullet chess champion, we can talk for hours about how good he is in that time control. You can get a little bit nervous with knight on f5, and like the rooks are staring down towards the black king side.
Listen, we've commentated for years. We've seen everything. You never think that this is the game where crazy things happen until crazy things happen.
Right. Oh, wow. What a find by him. He's doing queen e8, queen g2.
Exquisite technique by Hikaru. He is leaving nothing to chance.
No, he is not. And just queen b7 now.
Forcing rook f2, and that ends the game.
Yeah, that's not a rook trade that White's happy
c2 and d2. Yeah, I think Wesley might resign right here.
Whew.
And he does, and Hikaru Nakamura reigns supreme once again.
What
Just a buzzsaw.
What a match by Hikaru, because